30 million Americans have osteoarthritis, and women tend to get it more often than men, and it's often worse than in men. Does that surprise anybody, really? In severe osteoarthritis, complete loss of cartilage causes friction between the bones, and that leads to pain with limited motion or even pain when you're resting. My guests today are Dr. Sadanand Fulzele from the Department of Orthopedic Surgery at MCG and Dr. Monte Hunter, chair of the department. Dr. Hunter and Dr. Fulzele have co-authored a study in the journal Scientific Reports. And the bottom line for some patients is going to be a knee replacement. But your goal is to hopefully find other ways to treat symptoms and even to diagnose that doesn't have to lead to that knee replacement. Is that right?
Correct. Arthritis, as you mentioned, affects many of us. In fact, 1/3 of adults over the age of 60 have some form of arthritis. But the osteoarthritis is what we think of as the wear and tear arthritis.
Wear and tear,
right.
Yeah.
The rheumatoid arthritis is a different disease process entirely, but osteoarthritis is the common or more common type of arthritis that affects many of us.
What are some of the things that you have been able to discover through your research?
This research really started with that basic question: is how can we diagnose people earlier, and is there any difference between the types of arthritis and how to recognize where people are in their disease? And so synovial fluid is the natural fluid or lubricant in our joints that keep the joints moving easily, and when one gets arthritis, there's the question was, is that synovial fluid different because of arthritis, or does different people's synovial fluid affect their ability to avoid arthritis more? And so one of the great benefits of our institution is when we have questions like this to try to help people, I can go to colleagues like Sadanand and ask a question, and he can put some of the science behind it as to find answers.
Because you're seeing the patients.
Correct, yes.
And you're doing the research.
Yeah, that's correct.
Based on what his findings are, I guess, with patients.
Right.
First, I'd like to thank for inviting us on this program.
Certainly.
Yeah. So in this study, what we did, we collect the synovial fluid. It is a fluid present in a knee joint or any type of joint. So we collected the synovial fluid from the patients, and we isolated the exosomes. These are very tiny particles which secrete from the cells and that communicate with another cell. So like there is a one cell here and there's another cell here. Secrete the exosome from here and they communicate with another cell. And this exosome contains a hidden message inside it in the form of protein and small RNAs. We try to uncode this message, what's there inside, and is there any difference between the osteoarthritic and non-osteoarthritic patient. And we found that in osteoarthritic patient there is a different message. But surprisingly, what we found in females, there are completely different message than the main osteoarthritic patient.
Really?
Yeah. And then after a lot of bioinformatic analysis and in vitro studies, we found that these are estrogen regulated.
Okay.
So
estrogen regulated.
Okay. Yeah. So the osteoarthritis is more prone for females, but it gets worsened with an postmenopausal stage. So, and that makes sense. And the scientific literature also suggests similar thing in osteoporosis and all other different diseases. So in our laboratory, we did some studies inhibiting the estrogen signaling, and then we found that the exosome secreted from this normal cells treated with an inhibitor got the same message like in osteoarthritic females.
How do you apply that to your patients in terms of what can we be doing now, if anything, to prevent that onset?
Right. Well, this is very exciting new information for us, but it's just the start. There are many questions we don't have answered about osteoarthritis and how to prevent it, and we're looking all the time for ways to understand it better. So this study basically gives us an idea or insight into those communications that our joint cells see and hear. And so we know there are good signals that help protect the joint cartilage, and there are other bad signals that help break it down. And so Dr. Fulzele and his team have helped us learn what those are. So now the goal is to figure out how we can make each of us have more of those good signals in our knees to protect our joints. And so how can we minimize the bad signals?
We're glad that we have folks like you here in our community working on a problem that affects so many millions of Americans. And thank you for your time today. I wish we had longer and we could talk about it more, but we'll have you back another time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much
Thanks
for having us.
Thank you very much. Up next on Jenny, where you can catch some laughs and a delightful dinner this weekend. We'll tell you what's playing at the Fort Gordon Dinner Theater after the break.
How much